Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a really profound shift in how we interact with technology. We're moving way beyond traditional markets and straight into an era defined by surveillance capitalism. This is a system where your human activity and your everyday experiences are basically treated as raw material, extracted, processed, and perfectly optimized by some incredibly complex algorithms. So we're going to decode the very specific mathematical and psychological architectures that are literally driving our digital habits right now.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever wondered why you can just mindlessly scroll for hours on end? Or why checking a notification feels like this absolute compulsion you can't ignore? Well, spoiler alert, it is not a glitch in your willpower. It's actually a built-in feature of the system. Throughout this explainer, we're going to uncover the hidden behavioral and mathematical forces that product designers are using behind the scenes to carefully and covertly optimize your daily digital habits.
Section 1. The Calculus of Control.
To really understand how modern platforms keep us so relentlessly engaged, we actually have to take a look backward at mid-century behavioral science. At a foundational level, digital habituation relies completely on operant conditioning. This is a concept pioneered by the behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner. The core premise here is simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Your behavior is shaped by its consequences. And in our digital environments, those consequences aren't random at all. They're meticulously delivered to you through programmed schedules, things like likes, push notifications, and daily streaks, all designed to covertly mold your behavior over time.
Now think about the different ways these reinforcement schedules can be set up. You've got fixed ratios, like say earning a badge after exactly 10 workouts. You have fixed interval schedules based on time, like keeping up a 24-hour Snapchat streak. But the real game changer is the variable ratio schedule. This is the absolute engine of compulsive use. Under this schedule, rewards are delivered after a totally unpredictable number of responses. You simply don't know if the next swipe, the next pull to refresh, or the next loot box is going to contain the prize. And because you can't predict it, it creates the highest possible response rate and makes quitting almost impossibly difficult.
Moving right along to Section 2. Hacking your dopamine.
So we know how external behaviors are conditioned, right? But what exactly is happening inside your head? Well, the psychological pull of those variable rewards maps directly onto your midbrain's dopamine system through something called reward prediction error, or RPE. You can think of your brain as this constant prediction machine. It's always calculating the mathematical difference between what it expected to happen and what actually happened. And here's the truly fascinating part. As you get conditioned, the dopamine spike actually transfers away from the reward itself and moves to the earliest reliable cue, like for instance, the little ping of a notification.
And this brilliantly illustrates why unpredictability is absolutely crucial to tech companies. A positive RPE happens when you get a totally unexpected reward. Your dopamine fires way above baseline, essentially screaming at your brain, hey, pay attention, we need to do this again. But a zero RPE happens when your expectations are perfectly met. When that happens, learning basically stops. Your brain codes the environment as neutral, and you move on. Digital platforms are designed to ensure you almost never hit a zero RPE. By keeping the rewards constantly variable, they keep your internal wanting system perpetually fired up.
Now, product designers synthesize all of this complex biology into a super practical framework known as Nir-Eyal's four-step hook model. It kicks off with a trigger, an external cue like getting an email. Next comes the action, which is just a simple behavior like clicking a link. Third is the variable reward we were just talking about, satisfying your craving in a totally unpredictable way. Finally, you have the investment phase. This asks the user to do a tiny bit of work, like setting up preferences, which effectively loads the very next trigger. Through successive loops like this, external triggers are engineered to become internal, emotional habits, like reflexively opening an app the absolute second you feel bored.
Section 3. The Multi-Armed Bandit.
So how on earth do platforms scale this kind of biological hacking to millions of users simultaneously? To maximize engagement, algorithms face this constant mathematical dilemma known as the exploration-exploitation trade-off. This dilemma is solved by the Multi-Armed Bandit, or MAB framework. The algorithm has to make a choice in real time. Do I exploit the content I already know this specific user likes to guarantee engagement? Or do I explore new, uncertain content to learn more about their changing tastes? Unlike traditional A/B testing, which is totally static, MAB algorithms learn and adjust on the fly.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer scale of effectiveness when these algorithms are actually deployed in the real world. In a massive case study involving the cashback app Ibotta and Amazon Web Services, they tested a standard random recommendation model against a contextual multi-armed bandit algorithm. The standard model achieved an 11% redemption rate, but the contextual MAB, it yielded a massive 59% mean reward rate. That is literally a 5 times lift in user engagement, simply by letting the algorithm dynamically manage that exploration-exploitation trade-off.
And that massive lift is possible because contextual bandits achieve true one-to-one personalization. The algorithm factors in your specific context, the device you're holding, your current location, your entire past history. It can even infer your current emotional state just based on how you're interacting with the screen. It perfectly handles cold starts for brand new features, and it alters the entire choice architecture of the app in real time, all based on your unique, constantly evolving behavioral profile.
Which brings us to Section 4, gamifying the system.
Let's look at a sector where this math isn't just theory, it's incredibly transparent. I'm talking about the video game industry. Just to understand the scale here, consider this staggering figure. In 2018 alone, more than $30 billion in sales were generated globally just through loot boxes. If you're not familiar, loot boxes are randomized virtual item bundles that players purchase with real-world money. The financial stakes here are absolutely astronomical, which perfectly explains the rigorous mathematical business logic driving their structural design.
See, developers mathematically model exactly how to extract the absolute maximum revenue from these systems. Based on research from Columbia University, a traditional loot box, one that allows players to receive unwanted duplicate items, only captures about 36.7% of its optimal potential revenue. However, a unique loot box, which guarantees players only receive items they don't already own, is mathematically proven to extract the absolute maximum revenue over time. Developers use these highly precise models to maximize consumer spending down to the cent.
But here's the catch. Complete randomness can actually frustrate players enough to make them quit entirely. Look at this specific number, 70.36. In a lot of games, getting a rare character has a 1% base probability. Statistically speaking, it should take an average of 100 pulls to win. But game developers implement a hidden mathematical limit, say a guaranteed win at 121 pulls. By altering the math behind the scenes, the expected average drops to exactly 70.36 pulls.
So, the crucial point is that this mechanism, which gamers actually call a pity system, manipulates mathematical variance. It essentially guarantees you a win after a set number of consecutive losses, just to keep you playing and prevent you from getting so frustrated that you churn out. Furthermore, once a player realizes they're getting close to that guaranteed limit, the math applies intense commitment pressure. It keeps the player hooked until they spend just enough to finally trigger the payout.
Let's zoom out a bit for Section 5, regulating the hidden math.
As these systems become increasingly advanced, they are beginning to interface with the real world in completely passive ways. You see, these algorithms require massive amounts of data, and today, that data is gathered through passive smartphone sensing. Consider the mPulse mobile sensing model. It demonstrates that entirely passive data, like how frequently you check your screen, your battery charging habits, and exactly how fast you respond to incoming notifications, can accurately detect your behavioral vulnerabilities. Algorithms can literally detect your moments of impulsivity or low self-control. This allows platforms to trigger you with content or purchase prompts at the exact moments when you are weakest.
Let's move to and see how this builds into what researchers call the dark patterns knowledge stack. It all starts at step 1, with venture capital business imperatives demanding endless compounding growth. This completely necessitates step 2, an attention economy apparatus. That apparatus, in turn, requires step 3, experimental logic, like those multi-arm bandits we discussed, just to optimize your session length. And finally, this math manifests as step 4, interface artifacts. This is exactly why we have features like the infinite scroll. It deliberately removes natural stopping cues to keep you trapped in a mathematically optimized loop.
Naturally, in response to all of this, legislators have started introducing frameworks like the Bipartisan Detour Act. This act specifically targets the massive platforms, the ones with over 100 million active users. It seeks to prohibit design features that inherently impair user autonomy. It explicitly bans compulsive usage designs aimed at minors, and it would require independent review boards for any behavioral experiments. It is a major attempt to shift the heavy burden of digital well-being away from you, the individual user, and place it squarely onto the tech platforms that are creating these environments in the first place. This regulatory push highlights a massive biopolitical shift occurring in our society. As this quote so powerfully summarizes, under surveillance capitalism, the individual is no longer viewed as a sovereign agent making reasoned, conscious decisions. Instead, through the hidden math of operant conditioning, dopamine tracking, and multi-arm bandits, the user is transformed into a mere bundle of measurable impulses. impulses that can be predicted, constrained, and ultimately optimized for profit.
Which leaves us with a pretty critical choice to reflect on as we close out this explainer. Will our future digital environments prioritize human autonomy, or will they just continue to prioritize the profitability of extracted desire? Next time you find yourself endlessly scrolling or pulling the lever on a digital slot machine, try to remember the hidden math operating just beneath your screen. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the algorithms that shape your life.